Welcome, and good afternoon. My name is Chris Brummer. I'm the C. Boyden Gray Fellow on Global Finance at the Atlantic Council and a professor of law at Georgetown University. And before we get things started, I just want to take a couple of minutes to thank a couple of key people for whom this event just would not have been possible. First, to my boss, Fred Kemp, the CEO of the Atlantic Council. Raise your hand. And for you New Yorkers, a former Wall Street Journal reporter who, between running back and forth from Davos to Morning Joe, gives his senior staff just enough rope for events like these. To Paul Saltzman, my friend and partner at the Clearinghouse, who has graciously and enthusiastically supported the launch of our new Transatlantic Finance Initiative here in New York and at the Metropolitan Club, and who is solely responsible for this beautiful weather. And then finally, and I knew he had some real influence, but I had truly underestimated his pull. And also to Peter Kirstens, the first counselor for economics and finance for the European Union here in the United States. Peter is truly one of the smartest guys I know, and someone who has been instrumental in moving and driving today's event forward. As I mentioned, today's lunch is the inaugural event of the Atlantic Council's new Transatlantic Finance Initiative. It's a unique forum for thinking through and promoting the efficient and effective convergence of financial regulations as both the United States and the European Union begin to fully implement the G20 agenda through Basel III, the Dodd-Frank Act, CRD4, EMIR, and other legislation. To carry out this work, we are leveraging our unique position in Washington, D.C.'s policy community to serve as the leading interface for Washington, Wall Street, and Brussels. So if you're interested in our work, if you find today's event interesting and would like to attend future discussions, both private as well as some of our public meetings, please do let us know. We can always use helpful partners, and we look forward from hearing from you. With that in mind, I wanted to introduce one of our other honored guests, the CEO of the Americas for Deutsche Bank, USA, since in the European tradition, Jacques Brand. Mr. Brand is enormously impressive, a graduate of Harvard Business School and Boston University, and he's active in numerous philanthropic activities. But for our purposes today, I'm especially pleased to introduce him as both a participant and member of the Clearinghouse and Atlantic Council's boards. Please join me in welcoming him and as he introduces our honored guest, Commissioner Barnier, and then I'll return to manage the Q&A. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Chris. You forgot to promote Fred's book. So I can do that, Fred, if you like. So I wanted to extend a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of both the Clearinghouse as well as the Atlantic Council, two organizations that I am extremely proud of being part of, and two organizations that have a history of further developing the transatlantic dialogue and relationship. And so in that spirit, I'm honored today to introduce Michel Barnier, the European Commissioner for the Internal Market and Services. This is personally very exciting for me, given that I am originally from the home of the EU, from Brussels, and my native tongue is French. Now, Commissioner, I can introduce you in my rusty native tongue, but I don't want to undermine transatlantic relations. And fortunately for us, in any language, the Commissioner is really at the center of establishing internationally agreed upon standards that further trade, that further regulatory cooperation, that further regulatory harmonization, and then most importantly, add to global financial stability. So the ultimate goal is a level playing field that stimulates growth, a notion that is very much in sync with the recently announced free trade agreement between the EU and the US, which hopes to both stimulate job growth and creation and also promote great economic benefits to both of our regions. And there's no better person to speak on these issues than the Commissioner. Since 2010, he has led the EU's efforts in overhauling the regulatory environment for the EU financial markets and implementing the G20 reforms. Prior to his current role, Commissioner Barnier was a member of the European Parliament. He has also held various ministry positions in the French government. He was also a minister in the French National Assembly and the Senate. And in his spare time, the Commissioner was instrumental as the co-chair of the 1992 very successful Winter Olympics in Albertville. So it is with great pleasure and privilege that I introduce Commissioner Michel Barnier.
Good afternoon to all of you, and first of all, if I may, I want to thank you, all of you, for taking the time for this lunch to come and meet a European Commissioner who is sometimes a kind of a political UFO, not only in the United States, but sometimes also in Europe. Thank you very much to you, Frederick Camp and Chris, and also Paul Sazman for the clearing roles for organizing together this event. And thank you very much, Chairman Jack Brown, for your kind remarks. You just mentioned at the end of these remarks a part of my life that is very dear to me. From 81 to 92, I had this unusual experience to spend 10 years of my life to organize the Winter Olympics. It's quite unusual for a politician to spend so long time in the same project and to be re-elected after. But also, to be sincere, these 10 years remains for me as a school of tenacity and the skill which is very important in my present position. Ladies and gentlemen, when the financial crisis hit a few years ago, we had no choice. We needed a global reform effort. World leaders were quick to realize this. And the G20 agenda, you have just mentioned, is a sweeping reform program. It has guided and inspired reform efforts in Europe, the United States, and many other places also. This G20 agenda is based on two fundamental principles. First, we need new global rules for a global financial system. We need new global rules. Second, reforms will only work if they are implemented in a consistent way. The authorities that regulate and supervise the world of finance must coordinate their work, and they must cooperate when they enforce rules. And it has not always been the case so far. In other words, we must work together. We all had three tasks. Number one, to agree on a roadmap and international standards. Number two, to implement reforms at home. And number three, to make sure that our regulatory frameworks would work together. These are pretty straightforward tasks and also essential ones, because if we fail in any of them, we fail in reforming the system and in protecting ourselves from future crises. Reform simply cannot be half implemented or uncoordinated. This would simply translate in additional costs and in renewed risk for the financial sector and for the economy. And on both sides of Atlantic, we need to bring the financial system back to its primary function, namely to finance the economy. Let me say, ladies and gentlemen, a word on each of these three tasks, which were at the core of my discussion yesterday in DC with the Fed, the Treasury, and the US regulators. To begin with, the international standards are largely agreed. Recent and welcome progress was made on liquidity. We are now on parallel track to implement Basel III on both sides of the Atlantic. We are close on margins for derivatives. We are making good progress on shadow banking. Work on systemic banks is also well in hand. The real challenge now is how cooperation will work in practice. Ladies and gentlemen, the second task is implementation at home. Let me say a few words on where we are in Europe. We are completing our part of financial reform on G20. We distributed, perhaps the entrance, my favorite table. Perhaps we have get this one table in three colors, which is important not only because it is a summary of my work and the work of my team, but also because I had the chance last Thursday morning in Rome to comment on this table with His Holiness the Pope, Benedict XVI, in a private meeting. I think there is no link with his decision 2 days later. But as you can see on this table, all the legislative proposals are on the table. As I just mentioned, we are in the final steps of the negotiation on the capital requirements legislative to give effect to Basel III. We have just agreed on the implementing rules for derivatives, and I get the final agreement of the European Parliament last week on the technical standards for these rules on derivatives. We are making good progress on resolution and recovery plans. And we are creating a banking union. We are in the final stages of negotiation of a major reform of banking supervision. EU countries have already agreed to put the European Central Bank at the center of this new system, and we hope to conclude negotiations with the European Parliament and the Council of Ministers very soon. We could say, to be sincere, that it will be a real revolution for European banking sector. I will spare you the details, but in essence, the EU, Euro area, plus other member states who wish to, will share a single supervisory system. In some ways, the new system will be similar to, and perhaps even simpler than, the US system of banking supervision, which involves many agencies. And to this, we will add proposals for a single resolution mechanism in the coming months. These measures, together with creative action from the ECB, the European Central Bank, and the recapitalization exercise for EU banks strongly contributed to a more solid and more robust European banking sector. And I think you will agree with me that we have made huge progress compared to 1 year ago, when the Eurozone was associated with doom and gloom, and when a banking union with a single supervisory mechanism would have sounded unrealistic or simply unthinkable. I never shared this pessimism. It was based on a fundamental misunderstanding of the European Union. The EU and the Eurozone are much more than simple economic calculations. They reflect the fundamental desire of our countries to join together. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we'll still have weaknesses to address. Yes, we still have margin of progress, but I am convinced we are better equipped to address them. An integrated supervision, new fiscal rules, common backstops. And because we are here in New York, let me also say a few words on how I think the US is tackling implementation. The Dodd-Frank Act was adopted well over 2 years ago now. Independent regulators are facing the Herculean task of implementing it. Progress to date is impressive, even if time frames have been missed, in large part because they turn out to be too ambitious. On Basel III, I am often confronted with assertions that the US will not implement. And it did not implement Basel III, as the US did not implement Basel II. I don't agree with this. My discussion with the US regulators show that there is a clear determination on their part to fully implement Basel III. So I expect that the US will implement the agreement and will respect its G20 commitments. Entry into force may well take place in parallel with Europe, as we were both facing a complex process, which is, in my view, harshly democratic scrutiny. But in other areas, there are some challenges. Let me mention 3 of these. First, in the banking area, do we need additional measures on top of Basel III? Large international banks pose potential problems. However, I am not fully convinced by the proposed approach on foreign banking organization. It runs the risk of moving away from cooperation with international partners, a cooperation which I see as necessary. And the measures seem costly, with potential negative effect on finance and on growth. We are ready to work with the US authorities on a proportionate and cooperative approach. Second point, on derivatives, the most mobile part of the financial system. We seize the unique opportunity to agree on common international rules. Rules in the US and the EU are very, very similar, and we work lots to reach this goal. But the framework can only operate in practice if we are prepared to rely on each other. Expanding interpretation of homegrown rules to transactions that are already covered by equally solid foreign rules will only lead to legal conflicts. It will create uncertainty, increase costs, and push trade to less well-regulated players. This is precisely what we want to avoid. Third, I continue to be disappointed by the slowness of the US in moving towards internationally agreed accounting standards. I know this requires time. I know the US business community is still to be convinced, but it is essential to have common basic standards. Otherwise, we risk that our prudential standards will have different effects. And let's face it, the risk to return to a fragmented system based on national or regional approaches. This leads, ladies and gentlemen, me to the third task, setting up a cooperation mechanism to make sure that regulatory frameworks work together. We must put in place mechanisms that ensure that we can rely on each other's supervision and that we can work together to prevent bank crises or to manage them. We must put in place clear rules that show the market which rules apply and when. And we must put in place procedures that help us enforce our rules. The EU and the US are together, I hope, at a crossroads. If we choose to part ways, this will send a wrong signal to markets and to the rest of the world. It would increase the cost of capital and reduce growth prospects. On the other hand, if we can work together and cooperate, we can continue to provide a common base for international finance, boosting growth and employment. We have a unique opportunity to show that we choose cooperation over disunity. I strongly encourage our US friends to fully engage with Europe, to put the necessary political will in favor of a wide and comprehensive economic agreement. This should certainly include trade negotiations. It should also provide a framework for regulators and supervisors to work on regulatory convergence, reliance, and prudential cooperation. And this is the reason why I've come to the US once again, to express my conviction with my team that if we push our cooperation further, we can move together towards a truly transatlantic financial alliance. For me, a transatlantic financial alliance means that we adapt our regulatory and supervisory cooperation to the reality of the transatlantic marketplace. Financial firms in the EU and in the US face few economic barriers in their transactions across the Atlantic, but they and regulators face many regulatory and supervisory differences. These differences are often unnecessary, costly, and ultimately undermine efficient control and supervision. A transatlantic financial marketplace requires a level playing field based on a transatlantic regulatory alliance, based on a mutual trust, cooperation, and full reliance between our respective authorities. From my side, I'm willing to invest time and effort in pursuing this objective. Ladies and gentlemen, President Obama and European leaders have just agreed to launch talks on a comprehensive trade and investment partnership to promote fair and free exchanges across the Atlantic. These two words, fair and free and fair, used by the President Obama in his State of the Union address, are equally important, fair and free. This will also guide our work to promote this transatlantic regulatory alliance. And I'm convinced, if we succeed, it will be a catalyst for trade and growth between US and Europe. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you so very much for those comments and for your leadership on transatlantic financial regulatory issues. Please feel free to take a seat.
It's okay?
Yeah, both of our mics work. For the Q&A, I think that I would at least get the first discussion off and going, particularly with regards to the banking union. I was wondering if you could...
It works not. I'm not sure.
Hello, is my... It's not working. It's very rarely that I'm asked to be louder.
You want to take mine?
Is yours working?
Yes. It works.
Okay, and mine is as well. I think the first question, and then we'll certainly kick it out to the field, has to involve the banking union. We in the United States have watched efforts to construct a banking union effectively in Europe, but maybe if you could spend a couple of words sharing with us what a banking union means for the United States, and what are the stakes for many of the people in this room with regards to the banking union once it is finalized, particularly with regards to transatlantic financial services.
I can try to answer in English, but if I may, perhaps to switch to French with the help of my interpreter, just to be, not to give a proof that the cultural diversity we need also in the financial worlds, but also to be more precise and more concrete and to respect you in a certain sense. But I will try to answer precisely to the question. I listen very often to the American leaders speaking about the European crisis. The risk last year for Greece to get out of the Eurozone and the explosion of the Eurozone. And the main concern in your country and in some other part of the world legitimately was and is the stability of this big single market, which is Europe. And my first point for you to answer your question is that through what we are doing, and which is unthinkable, I used for the first time this word, unthinkable 2 or 3 years ago, at the collective level, European level and the national level, as far as fiscal consolidation is needed for some countries, is the key and the answer for the European stability and to get out of this crisis of the Eurozone. Just for you to understand, what is in this table is more or less what we call in Europe the single rule book for the 27 countries of the single market. And I am the commissioner in charge of the single market. And I want to build the single market for financial services, as we are going to build it for services, goods, mobility of the people, and capital. This is a single rule book for the 27 countries. But among these 27 countries, 17 of them, which have chosen to have the single currency, has evidently more stronger interdependence and more systematic risk between them, between their banks and between their states, as we saw with Greece and some other cases. And that's the reason why these 17 countries, in an open way, decided to create the banking union. Not to have different rules from the 10 others, to implement the same rules, the single rule book, in a more effective, integrated, and single manner. And that is the banking union. Beginning by the supervision, the head of state asked us to create this first step the end of June last year. I put my proposal on the table of the Minister of the Parliament 2 months after, 12th of September, and we reached an agreement at the end of December. It is the first level, the first step, the fundamental step to have an integrated supervisory mechanism managed by the ECB for the 6,000 banks of the Eurozone, and perhaps for the other country who will join. At the same time, I'm making lots of effort to get the agreement with the Parliament and the Council on my two proposals to create in each country resolution scheme and the credit deposit scheme in the Eurozone, and also in the other countries. And finally, I will propose next summer to have a unique single independent authority for resolution at the level of the Eurozone. That are the four pieces of this puzzles creating the banking union. And I think just sorry to have take a few minutes to describe what is the banking union, which is quite a revolution for the banking sector in Europe, but also because it's the key and the answer for the European stability. And I think in that case it is interesting for you.
Excellent. I think I'm going to open it up immediately to some of our participants. Are there any questions? And if so, if you could just identify yourself and then we can move a mic. Yes, sir, in the back row. Next to Garrett. Garrett. Oh, excellent.
Hi, this is David Strongen from the Securities Industry and Financial Markets Association. We appreciate the Commissioner's remarks. And I think the theme of those remarks were cooperation, harmonization, and we applaud those and welcome those, and we agree with that. You also talked a little bit about the US, EU, FTA. We're strong supporters of those negotiations. However, recently, there came a directive, or a proposed directive, came out of the European Commission on a proposed transaction tax, which in effect, we believe, applies a tax to investors and consumers globally. So I'm just wondering, in terms of the cooperation, harmonization that you're looking for, and we agree with how the financial services transaction tax fits into your view.
Mais est-ce que vous pensez que ça s'aligne avec cette proposition sur la taxe sur les transactions financières?
I know and I read it is a sensitive question, so I will switch to French. Quand un grand pays européen comme le Royaume-Uni, où se trouve 40% de l'industrie financière européenne, et c'est une chance pour nous, crée une taxe sur le secteur bancaire national, en toute souveraineté, je ne vois pas une telle émotion.
So when a large European country, the United Kingdom, which represents 40% of the European financial industry, creates a tax on the banking sector, I have not registered the same kind of emotion as the one that you seem to have.
Si on cherche bien, on trouverait des taxes plus ou moins comparables sur les transactions financières dans d'autres régions du monde, à Hong Kong ou ailleurs.
So if you were looking really good, you could probably find the same type of tax on financial transaction elsewhere in the world, Hong Kong, for instance, or even elsewhere.
Donc je souhaite que tout le monde garde son calme.
So I'd like for everybody to keep cool.
Et que vous acceptiez, avant que ça ne devienne une mesure, je l'espère, la plus générale possible, parce que c'est ça qui me paraît souhaitable, que des pays européens, souverainement et ensemble, décident de demander aux échanges financiers de contribuer sur un taux très réduit et sur une base très large à la stabilité et à rendre un peu de ce qui leur a été apporté par les contribuables au moment de la crise.
So I think it will be accepted widely when European Union countries decide to enact this tax, which will be at a very small rate on a very wide basis, and which will help the citizens to get a little bit of the funds that they have contributed so much at the height of the crisis.
Cette taxe, dans les conditions, elle est proposée par ces 11 pays, dont l'Allemagne, la France et d'autres, de mon point de vue économiquement supportable.
So this tax has been proposed by 11 countries, among them Germany and France. And I think, in my own mind, that this tax is quite economically sustainable.
Elle est techniquement assez facile.
Technically, it's rather easy.
Elle est politiquement juste.
And it's politically fair.
Et je recommande, si vous regardez ce que nous faisons et ce qui devrait être fait un peu partout dans le monde, qu'on n'oublie pas, là je m'exprime très sincèrement, ce qui se passe dans beaucoup de peuples actuellement. Hein.
And what I recommend to you, if you see what we are doing,
And to myself too. Hein.
and myself too, and if you see what's going on in the rest of the world, do not forget the kind of movements that you see being born in all of our countries right now.
En tout cas, moi je vois en Europe beaucoup de mouvements populistes, protectionnistes, gagner beaucoup de voix dans les élections, et je suis inquiet de cela.
And I notice in Europe, in many countries, there are many populist parties, many protectionist voices that are gaining a lot of votes in our elections. And that worries me a lot.
Et si ces protectionnistes bloquent le jeu politique dans plusieurs pays et le bloqueront dans l'Europe, alors c'est la fin du marché unique.
And if these protectionist voters get the upper hand and manage to block our trade in a country or
le jeu politique.
and through the political game and also between our countries, well, then that's the end of the union.
Et cette mesure est aussi, de ce point de vue-là, une réponse que, par rapport à une crise financière qui a beaucoup coûté en termes d'argent public, de garantie publique, d'emploi, et ce n'est pas fini, eh bien, nous demandons au marché financier une contribution.
And this crisis has cost us a lot of money, both public funds, through guarantees also, cost a lot of jobs, and it's not over yet. And I think all we are asking is a small contribution in return.
Et moi, je ne viendrai jamais à mon idée de venir me mêler ou donner mon opinion sur les mesures prises en toute souveraineté sur le plan fiscal, sur le plan budgétaire par les États-Unis.
And it would never even cross my mind to say anything or to have any opinion about tax measures that would be taken in all its sovereignty by the United States, for instance.
That's it. Maybe a couple more questions? Paul?
Can you elaborate on concerns that you might have about regulatory trends towards ring fencing in terms of protectionist and destabilizing impacts that might have, and in particular, what concerns you might have about the Federal Reserve's proposal to create intermediate level holding companies for non-U.S. banking organizations?
Oui. Toute action que je mène, et encore une fois, c'est la 7e fois que je viens aux États-Unis depuis 3 ans, précisément pour expliquer ce que nous faisons, comprendre ce que font les Américains dans le cadre de l'agenda du G20 et éviter méthodiquement tous les risques d'overlaps ou d'underlaps ou de fragmentation.
It is my 7th trip to the United States in the last 3 years, and I come here to explain what we are doing, to understand what the United States are doing in the framework of the G20 agenda, and to explicitly avoid all overlaps or underlaps in our legislations.
Et tout le travail que j'ai fait avec Tim Geithner, le chairman Bernanke, Mary Shapiro, jusqu'à une date récente, ou Gary Gensler, est lié à l'examen commun de ces risques d'overlaps ou d'underlaps entre nous.
And all the work I've been doing in my trips with Tim Geithner, Ben Bernanke, Mary Shapiro, until recently Gary Gensler, all this was dedicated to scrutinize all these risks of overlap or underlap between our different legislations.
Donc cette annonce, ça veut dire ring fencing, de création de ces formules de Foreign Banking Organization me préoccupe sérieusement.
So therefore, this announcement of ring fencing these foreign bank organizations worries me seriously.
J'ai exprimé cela au plus haut niveau à la Réserve fédérale, à la Fed.
I explained that at the highest level, at the Federal Reserve.
Nous devons nous comprendre d'abord, comprendre les raisons de ces idées.
We must first understand each other and understand the very reason that underlines these ideas.
Nous sommes convenus de travailler ensemble pour trouver une solution.
And we agreed to work together to find a solution.
I said in my speech, free and fair. In every field, free and fair.
Yes.
Je peux dire pourquoi nous devons trouver une solution.
I can tell you why we must find a solution.
Parce que si nous n'en trouvons pas, je n'aurai pas d'argument pour empêcher des mesures réciproques.
If we don't find a solution, I will have absolutely no arguments to prevent reciprocal measures on my side.
Hi, Joe Renison from Risk Magazine. If the implementation of Basel III is delayed in the US, do you think it should be delayed?
Where are you, please? Absolutely.
Perhaps you can stand up?
No, it's okay, it's okay.
If the implementation of Basel III is delayed in the US, do you think it should be delayed in Europe?
Si on retarde Bâle III aux États-Unis, est-ce qu'on devrait aussi retarder la mise en œuvre en Europe?
Je vais prendre les choses dans un autre sens. Hein.
I'll see it the other way around.
Nous avons pris les mêmes engagements au G20.
We took the very same commitments at the G20.
Et celui-ci, élaboré longuement et patiemment par le comité de Bâle, à propos des règles de Bâle, est l'un des plus importants.
And this one, which has been elaborated with great patience and details by the Basel Committee as the Basel rules, needs to be implemented and has been accepted.
L'un des plus importants.
Is one of the most important.
Et j'ai beaucoup souhaité d'ailleurs que ce travail du comité de Bâle soit précisé, notamment sur un sujet extrêmement sérieux qui est celui des ratios de liquidité.
And I wanted the Basel Committee work to be precised on a topic that is very important, which is liquidity ratio.
Je n'imagine pas qu'un engagement pris au plus haut niveau du G20 ne soit pas tenu.
I cannot imagine that a commitment that has been taken at the highest level at the G20 would not be respected.
Celui-ci comme les autres.
This one, like others.
Donc je ne vais pas répondre à votre question comme vous vous y attendez. Je fais tout et je viens ici pour être sûr qu'on va bien tenir cet engagement dans un délai parallèle.
So I will not answer the question the way you expected. All I'm saying is that I come here to make sure that it is done and we do it in a parallel manner.
Et la réponse que j'ai reçue du chairman Bernanke, celle qu'on m'a donnée hier au plus haut niveau de la Réserve fédérale, c'est que ce sera le cas.
And the answers that I got from Chairman Bernanke and that I got yesterday at the highest level of the Federal Reserve is that it will be the case.
Et donc, voilà. Et, naturellement, il y a besoin peut-être d'un certain délai technique du côté américain, comme nous avons besoin d'un délai technique.
Of course, the U.S. side probably could need some delay for technical reasons, just like we might have some technical delays also.
Mais l'assurance que je retire de cette visite aux États-Unis, c'est que nous allons mettre en œuvre Bâle III de manière parallèle, dans les délais prévus.
But the insurance that I get from this visit to the United States is that Basel III will be implemented in parallel within the framework that we were discussing.
Peut-être pour l'information de chacun d'entre vous, je veux rappeler que c'est un engagement important, mais difficile. Hein.
For your information, I'd like to recall that it is an important commitment, but it's not an easy one.
Nos secteurs bancaires ne se ressemblent pas de part et d'autre des États-Unis, de l'Atlantique.
Our banking systems do not look alike at all on either side of the
Du
Atlantic.
côté européen, le secteur bancaire finance 70% de l'économie.
On the European side of the Atlantic, the banking sector finances 70% of the economy.
Et nous appliquons Bâle à 8000 banques.
And Basel is applied to 8,000 banks.
One or two more questions? Yes, sir.
Alex Bertera with ASCGS, a think tank in Washington. My question goes to harmonization, and you make a very strong case for harmonizing the rule books across the Atlantic. I wonder whether you could expand a little bit, for instance, on the Volcker rule in this country, the proposed Vickers rule in the UK, and the Liikanen report, and whether those three elements go in the direction that you would actually welcome, or whether you see risks there between one region and the other.
Est-ce que Volcker Vickers et Liikanen vont dans le bon sens?
In addition of Volcker rule, Vickers, you can add the French law and the German law too, to be complete. Dans la mise en œuvre de l'agenda du G20, j'ai donné la priorité à ce qui était précisément dans les décisions du G20.
In the implementation of the G20 agenda, I gave priority what was precisely written in the G20 agenda.
Et ça fait 28 lois différentes qui constituent plus ou moins la Dodd-Frank Act européenne.
That's 28 different laws that are more or less the same constitution as the Dodd-Frank Act in Europe.
More than less.
More than less.
Il me reste maintenant 3 pièces importantes à mettre sur la table cette année.
I have 3 very important pieces to put on the table this year.
Celle dont je vous ai parlé avec l'autorité européenne de résolution.
The one I just mentioned about the European Resolution Authority.
La régulation du shadow banking.
Regulation of shadow banking.
Qui a été d'ailleurs expressément demandée par le G20.
Which was expressly requested by the G20.
Et puis la réforme du secteur bancaire.
And then the banking sector reform.
Mais il me paraissait logique de préparer cette réforme du secteur bancaire et de la division des risques, de la séparation des risques, après avoir mis en place logiquement toutes les lois transversales qui sont dans le G20 qui intéressent le secteur bancaire.
But it seemed logical to me before we did the separation of risk, for instance, to get ready with all the transversal rules and laws that were in the banking sector.
Et de voir, en addition de ces lois transversales, supervision interne, externe, gouvernance, Bâle III, ce qu'il faut ajouter pour protéger les épargnants et pour préserver les contribuables.
And to see on top of these transversal rules, internal supervision, external supervision, governance, Basel III, what else needed to be put on top to preserve the taxpayers and people who save their money in banks?
Pour protéger les épargnants.
Protect savers.
Et tout préserver les contribuables.
And preserve the taxpayers.
Je pense qu'il faut faire quelque chose de plus.
I think something more needs to be done.
Voilà pourquoi j'ai regardé de très près, et j'ai d'ailleurs rencontré Paul Volcker, ce qui se passe ici.
That's why I'm looking very closely at what's going on here, and I met Paul Volcker.
J'observe d'ailleurs que ce n'est pas si facile que ça à faire.
And I realize that this is not all that easy to be done.
Le gouvernement britannique a mis en place la commission de M. Vickers.
The UK government set up the Vickers Commission.
Et le gouvernement allemand et français viennent de décider de faire une réforme de leur secteur bancaire dans cet esprit.
And the French and German government have decided to have a banking sector reform in that very sense.
Pour ce qui nous concerne au niveau Single Market des 27 pays de l'Union. J'ai donné cette priorité à toutes ces lois et j'ai pendant ce temps-là demandé à M. Liikanen de travailler avec un groupe d'experts de très haut niveau.
As far as we're concerned, for the 27 countries of the Union, I've given priority to these laws, and I've asked Mr. Liikanen to set up a high-level group to study the question.
Et maintenant, je travaille sur la base de son rapport.
And now I'm working on the basis of the Liikanen report.
Et je fais avec mes équipes une étude d'impact, assessment study, sur chaque option.
And with my team, I'm doing an assessment study on every one of the options.
Qu'est-ce que donne la règle Volcker en Europe?
What is the impact of the Volcker rule in Europe?
Qu'est-ce que donnerait l'élargissement du rapport Vickers à toute l'Europe?
What would happen if the Vickers report was scaled up to the whole of Europe?
Et une chose dont je suis sûr, c'est que les lois françaises et la loi allemande pourront trouver leur place dans le cadre européen que je vais proposer.
One thing that I'm sure of is that the German law and the French law will find their place within the European framework that I'm going to propose.
Et que ce framework doit être aussi compatible avec le rapport Vickers.
And this framework must also be compatible with the Vickers report.
Mais je veux préserver la diversité du secteur bancaire européen.
But I want to preserve the diversity of the European banking sector.
8000 banques.
8,000 banks.
3 à 4 000 d'entre elles sont des banques coopératives ou mutualistes.
3,000 to 4,000 of these banks are cooperatives or mutual banks.
Je ne veux rien faire qui pénaliserait l'activité économique dont l'Europe a besoin à travers les banques.
And I don't want to do anything that would handicap the economic activity that Europe needs so badly through the banks.
Donc nous regardons de très près dans le trading pour compte propre, dans le market making, précisément l'ensemble des options.
So we are looking at market making and trading for own accounts, proprietary trading, all the options.
Et je présenterai ce texte de ce cadre européen cet été.
And the text of this European framework will be presented this summer.
Just taking the moderator's sort of privilege, do you see any EU-US free trade agreement in any way addressing financial services or helping to coordinate cross-border regulatory deliberations?
Comment on peut imaginer de faire un accord de libre-échange transatlantique si on n'a pas clairement établi un level playing field sur le plan des services financiers? Comment on peut faire ça?
How can you even imagine a transatlantic FTA if you have not created a level playing field for financial services? How can you even think of it?
80% des transactions financières mondiales sont entre Européens et Américains.
80% of world financial transactions are between us, between Europe and the United States.
Donc on ne va pas faire un accord transatlantique commercial artificiel.
So you're not going to try to build an artificial trade FTA.
La question à laquelle je n'ai pas de réponse aujourd'hui, c'est est-ce que cette question de l'agenda réglementaire ou des services financiers fera partie de la négociation?
The question for which I have no answer today is whether this question will be part and parcel of the negotiation or not.
C'est pas si simple que ça sur le plan juridique du côté des États-Unis.
Legally speaking, on the United States side, it is not all that easy to do.
Compte tenu des responsabilités très fortes des agences de régulation.
Given the very strong responsibility of the regulators.
Et nous-mêmes, du côté européen, nous allons faire ce choix entre nous au niveau des ministres et de la Commission européenne.
And on the EU side, we're going to also make this choice between the ministers and the European Commission.
Et en demandant l'avis du Parlement aussi.
And we'll ask the advice of
moi, je suis prêt.
the European Parliament, but I'm ready.
De toute façon, je mènerai cette négociation.
And I'm the one who's going to chair the negotiation anyway.
Pour services financiers.
I mean, for financial services.
Donc je pense que, je l'ai dit dans mon speech, je pense que les choses sont liées. Hein.
And I told you in my speech, I think these two things are linked.
Free and fair.
Well, we at the Atlantic Council are very involved in that particular issue. Perhaps time for one last question.
Please.
Il veut rebondir.
Level playing fields, and you mentioned that financial services could be or should be part of the package if it was comprehensive enough. I wonder what your views are on the recent talks about currency wars and the need that that should be taken out of the equation as well if you really want to create a level playing field.
Oui, c'est ça, l'évaluation compétitive.
Oui. It is an open question. Very open. C'est toujours, pour un homme politique, il faut toujours être prudent quand on parle de la monnaie. Hein.
Politicians should always be very careful when he talks about currencies and money.
Donc je serai prudent.
And I will be careful.
Notamment parce que en Europe, la Banque centrale européenne, qui est en charge de cette stabilité monétaire, est indépendante.
Especially because in Europe, the European Central Bank, which is in charge of the monetary stability, is an independent body.
Ce que je sais, c'est que il y a des raisons d'évoquer au niveau de la gouvernance mondiale cette question de la stabilité monétaire.
All I know is that there are good reasons at the level of world governance, good reasons to debate monetary stability.
C'est pour ça que j'ai approuvé le président français, à l'époque M. Sarkozy, quand il présidait le G20 et qu'il a mis cette question à l'ordre du jour du G20.
That's why I approved Mr. Sarkozy when he was president at the G20, and he put that question on the agenda of the G20.
Ce que je sais, c'est que la valeur des monnaies doit être clairement définie par le marché.
And also what I know is that the value of a given currency must be clearly defined by the value of its market.
Ce que je sais, c'est qu'une monnaie doit normalement représenter les fondamentaux de la région qu'elle représente, les fondamentaux économiques.
What I know is that a currency should represent the fundamentals of the region where it comes from, the economic fundamentals.
Et donc on voit bien quand on met ces différents éléments ensemble qu'il y a des besoins de parler ensemble de ces questions. Hein.
And when you put all this together, you see that we need to talk together about these questions.
Je peux dire aujourd'hui ça.
That's all I can say today.
Excellent. Well, thank you so very much, Commissioner.
C'est fini?
Ah oui, c'est fini. Sauf si vous voulez aussi. Sauf si vous avez des questions.
No,
On peut continuer si vous voulez.
Not only this night, but we can spend a few minutes more, huh, if you want.
Wow,
I'm ready to
absolutely.
answer some other questions.
Does anyone else have a? Yes, sir.
I don't want to be frustrated.
Well, thank you for that, David Trump from the IIF.
Where are you?
Oh, sorry. Many of us in this room share the same concerns that you have about the Fed's foreign banking organization proposals. One of the primary motivations of that proposal, according to the Fed, is the difficulty of sharing information on a regulatory and supervisory basis everywhere, but in particular with Europe. I wonder if you could say a little bit about whether addressing those specific questions, and there are others that the Fed raises, are as part of this process of getting closer together that you mentioned in your talk.
Oui, évidemment, nous avons des systèmes législatifs actuels ou futurs qui sont vraiment différents sur la protection des données.
So we have legislative systems, ancient ones or present ones, that are quite different as to data exchange, data protection.
Et le mot-clé, mesdames et messieurs, pour moi, dans tout ce travail de cadre de régulation commun, c'est le mot d'équivalence.
But the key word for me in all this work of common regulations is the word equivalence.
En anglais, on dit, il y a un mot.
Mutual recognition or substantive compliance?
Substantive compliance.
Substantive compliance.
Substituted compliance? Or
substantive compliance, yes.
Substituted compliance or mutual recognition? Yeah.
Bon, enfin, le fond est le même. Hein. L'équivalence.
The substance is the same. It's equivalency between.
L'équivalence, c'est la confiance.
And trust.
Nous devons nous faire confiance.
We must trust each other.
Entre Américains et Européens.
Between Americans and Europeans.
Je suis très engagé sur d'autres sujets comme la politique étrangère et la défense, et j'aimerais bien qu'on ait aussi des progrès dans ces domaines grâce à davantage de confiance mutuelle. Hein.
That's why I'm so committed in other topics like defense, for instance, or foreign policy, and I'd like to have also more talks and more exchange on these common interest topics.
Mais s'agissant des services financiers, si nous avons confiance dans la qualité et la rigueur de nos systèmes, nous devons trouver des systèmes d'équivalence quand c'est nécessaire.
But back to financial services, if we trust each other, we have trust in the quality of our services and the rigor of the system, then we should find equivalencies.
Donc, pour vous compreniez, j'ai identifié une série de points où nous avons des risques de divergence.
So that you understand, I've identified a list of points where we do not agree.
Et j'ai dit des risques de différence.
Risks of divergence.
Et nous travaillons techniquement pour résoudre ces points.
And we do technical work in order to solve these points.
C'est la question des standards des produits dérivés, c'est la question des risques de mesures d'inconséquences extraterritoriales sur la réforme bancaire.
Derivative standards, the risk of extraterritoriality on banking reform.
Ça pouvait être jusqu'à maintenant la date de mise en œuvre de Bâle III des deux côtés de l'Atlantique.
Until now, it could have been the date of implementation of Basel III on each side of the Atlantic.
Un souci très fort, je l'ai dit dans mon speech, c'est la question des normes comptables auxquelles nous travaillons ensemble à Londres et que les Américains n'appliquent pas pour l'instant.
A strong concern, and I've said it in my speech, is the question of accounting standards on which we're working so hard in London and together, and on which Americans have not agreed so far.
Mais on doit résoudre ces problèmes. Pour le reste, nous allons vivre avec des systèmes institutionnels, des autorités de supervision, des trade repositories, des chambres de compensation. Il faut l'équivalence dans nos systèmes de supervision et d'information.
So for the rest, we're going to live in a world where institutional agencies, authorities, regulatory authorities, trade repositories, clearing houses are going to be, we're going to have to live with them on each side of the Atlantic.
Il faut l'équivalence dans les systèmes.
And therefore we need to find equivalences within the systems.
Donc je travaille à cela très précisément.
And I work on that in details.
Et je jugerai la réussite de notre travail sur l'ensemble de cet agenda, Dodd-Frank Act et ça, à la mise en place d'un vrai système d'équivalence généralisé.
And I will judge the success of this effort, Dodd-Frank Act and what I'm doing, to the extent to which we were going to make it and have equivalencies for all our rules.
Ce n'est pas seulement une question de crédibilité personnelle ou du G20, c'est une question de stabilité financière du monde.
It's not a question of my personal credibility or the credibility of the G20. It's a question of the world financial stability.
Il faut que nos deux continents travaillent ensemble.
Both continents must work hand in hand.
And I want to ensure that you have enough time to work with the press hand in hand. But certainly, we do very, very much value having had the opportunity to listen to you today. The clearinghouse.
It's finished?
C'est certainement fini. Bon, vous avez But certainly, the Clearinghouse and the Atlantic Council will have more occasions like this in the future. Many, many thanks to Hillary Arden, to Dan McCardle, and also Garrett Workman. Thank you.